worked out. Every once in a while, these strange last-minute kind of opportunities came, and I went and I visited them, and I saw their studio in Thailand, and I really liked the intentions they had for what they wanted to do with this type of project moving forward, and they liked the art, and I had sent them, I think, some images or something that they got offline, and they showed me like a little demo in a smaller 15-foot dome that they created, and it was quite remarkable to see that. And as I was there, I was just recording a little video of it on my phone, and later that night, you know, part of the being a modern artist these days, it doesn't hurt to have kind of a social media presence. You know, you gotta feed the algorithm, so I post something about once a day, once every other day, and it's sometimes harder when you're traveling. And I was like going to bed, and I was like, I had to post something. I was like, I guess I could post this video, and I just like sent the video. It was just like a real handshaky video, and I posted that while I was out there, and the video got, I know, 600,000 views. It got like 1 million, 2 million. I mean, it just, the stats went crazy, like nothing I'd really posted before. And I showed that to Swami. I call him, his name is George, but he goes by Swami. He's the leader of these. So the studio is also a Krishna ashram. Okay. So all of the artists that work there are all devotees of Krishna, which I think it adds a lot to their community collectiveness. They don't have as many distractions, and they're all really kind of unified on the same team. But when I showed Swami, I'm like, you got to check this video out. And he was just like, yeah, I know, of course. He was like stone-faced, like wasn't surprised one bit. He's like, yeah, that's what's going to happen. He's like, he kind of has it all. It's a very, very interesting gentleman, this Swami. The character, we call him the gangster Swami.
Very magical.
Auspicious. Yeah, it was definitely really auspicious. And so I gave them just the whole collection of a lot of the high-res files I had and layered files. And I had also, there's a woman named Tanya who I've been working with for years. She's from Russia, and I met her through a group of friends that invited me out there years ago to do different events, and she's just an amazing animator, works a lot with After Effects, and she's taken a few of my images from 2D to like a moving cinematic kind of experience. And I just thought, like, well, you know, they've got a really great team, but I know this is a woman that's really familiar with the work that I do and has a real passion for animating it. So I told Swami's like, she's in Goa, you need to get her and give her a job and set her at the studio for a month. Nice. And yeah, they just went at it. And,
that's so incredible.
Yeah, and I had never seen it until like 3 days ago.
Wow.
Because the content, they had to deliver the content on a hard drive, they had to render it here for 7 days, and so it was just a few days before the event where we actually got to see how it was going to turn out.
Gosh, I'd love to know how that felt for you.
Oh, so crazy. I was really nervous.
Yeah.
Because we already sold all these tickets, and I was like, oh man.
That's some real trust.
It's a lot of trust.
Yeah.
Well, you know, as an artist, and you know, it's a life of gambling. You know, you gamble with I gamble with my reputation all the time. Mm-hmm. We're doing a big 60-foot dome at Lightning in a Bottle, and when I say yes, we'll do that, it's a gamble. I have no idea if it's going to happen or not. You have to rely on all these things and people coming together, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But this was another educated gamble, and yeah.
How do you feel about it? Yeah.
No, it was amazing. I mean, being there, and because I think that I hold myself to like pretty high standards. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm pretty picky about what I like. I consume a lot of interesting type of media, so I have a really good feel for what's current and what people like and what kind of different trends are. And so I kind of prepared myself to be like, okay, if it's going to be what it is, that's going to be great. And as soon as it started up, it went right into that, like the animation portion, like the second part. Mm-hmm. And it was just like, at first I just couldn't really believe like what I was seeing, because it, you know, I describe it to people for the shows like it's not really a movie. You know, it's not kind of like a narrative. It's not just, you know, it's not like a little animation. But when I saw it, what I felt was like, oh yeah, this is the future. This is how the images I made, like, this is like an ultimate form of experiencing them. Because, and what I was saying too, it's like, as an artist and the process that I work with, you know, using monitors and technology and electro mineral type of apparatuses. The monitor I see, it's not like a rectangular canvas I'm putting paint on, but it's really this. It's like this window I have into this other world of imagination and creativity, and it's my little porthole. I'm looking out and I can make it go anywhere. But each of the images, I'm only able to take that and distill the breadth of that experience into a rectangle, which is pretty limiting. You think of infinite consciousness, and art's about a bunch of squares and rectangles. Like, it's kind of funny that it works like that, or at least 2D art.
Or had been working
like that. And yeah, so when I saw this and just seeing it everywhere, seeing it like above me and move, and how it kind of looped around, I was just like, oh, wow, this isn't just watching a painting. This is like being inside of one of my paintings, and it just kept going from one to the other. And I was pretty mesmerized by it. Like, I definitely got like chills all over, because it just felt like, when you see new things, you're like, oh, that's the thing. Like, that's the thing that I should have thought of, years ago, and it never occurred to me until I'm seeing this thing right now. And so it's a new thing.
It felt like a visual transmission.
Yeah.
Like, that I felt on my whole body. And we also were chatting about how it felt like the whole community who was in there having that experience, we were like on a trip together.
Yeah.
We were in this resonant field that was beyond words. Like you said, it was beyond a narrative. And then at the same time, it was like a deeper narrative than you could even have with words. Yeah.
And it really puts you're not just like, you're not like looking through the window at a painting. Like, you become part of it. You're like the main character in it as it's happening all around you. So, I mean, it makes you look at all of my other pieces. Like, I think they might work on one of these pieces too. It's just like, wow, I want to, like, this is cool seeing of this angle, but I'd love to like move around. And I think that, that's a lot of the promises of these new mediums that are being developed. What we're doing in here is going to translate really easy into virtual reality, which will just be the next 8th mass medium, whether you like it or not. And when that gets online, that'll change everything too. And so this is actually a really nice kind of lead-in, sort of like a gateway into that, because it's not just goggles on your head, because it is actually pretty neat to like be there and know that you're having this experience with all these other people, especially if you like bring your friends. It's nice, because when you see cool things like this, you want to share it with people that you care about. So I think it really does have, I'm very excited. As artists, I think a lot of us are always like looking for the next series or what we're going to put our energy into and how to pursue. And like, yeah, after this, it was, after I saw this, it's like, oh, like, why am I wasting all my time like printing out canvases, like all the money on animators, like we're gonna like bet it all.
It's the next frontier.
Yeah. Double down on the dome. Yeah.
And to the virtual reality piece, in a way, I don't know if you heard me mention it to Tom before, but having artists like Desert Dwellers or Rab submit their DJ sets for tonight, but without having to actually be here, in a way, that's virtual reality. Like, we're still having this physical human experience, but we were thinking, so many people have talked about having this show at planetariums across the country.
Yep.
And, that is a beautiful way for you to be able to be sharing your art. And people were talking about how this is actually revitalizing the planetarium economy, that there aren't people really coming to see space shows all that often. So
That's
why
true.
not start cross-pollinating the art community
Absolutely.
and the music community?
Yeah.
And there's so many other amazing leaders who I've met at this event tonight. So
Yeah.
I'd love to hear your thoughts about what's next.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, planetariums are a totally underutilized resource. It's like this. I live here in Boulder. I didn't know we had the highest resolution planetarium on the planet here in Boulder, and you just kind of drive past it all the time. So I think that does present a great opportunity, especially for what we do when we go to these festivals and put these events on, like we're doing a smaller version of this at LIB. It's fun, it's a lot of work, it's a great team building exercises in patience and endurance, but it's a lot of work to go out to these events and build these things, just take them down. And when you look around the country and in the world, we've got these government-funded, amazing 360 projection spaces, and they're all in need of a lot of really good content, because there's just not a lot of good dome content being produced. And the stuff that's been out there for a while, from what I understand, kind of talking to Swami, because he lives in the full dome world. He does a lot of work within there. And there's not a lot of content. A lot of it is like really, you license it out, or it's really overpriced. It's like, and it's hard to, you know, I guess it might not be super current for some people, but I mean, there is a lot of stuff being made. The Fiske is going to do an awesome, like a dome film festival that we've entered to this one too. So,
cool.
But I think what excites me about this is, one, that the planetarium infrastructures exist; they're everywhere. Also, what you mentioned about sort of like the virtual experience. So much of what I do, like what I did last night at Tipper, what I've done with Phaedroid, like there's a live component, which is really, you know, amazing and really powerful in itself. I do really like the idea of not having to travel through TSA, like across the planet, and navigate all that, and just like send hard drives places. You know, because I'm only a guy, I can't be everywhere at once, but this show virtually could be
and it's more
all over the
sustainable
place
that way.
for everybody.
Yeah.
They don't have to put up with me when I show up, or pick me up from the airport, just pop in the drive. No.
I was curious, you were talking about, you know, the process of going to LIB and that whole piece and the team and, you know, cultivating the patients. As someone who I feel like is really embodying a conscious art form and conscious leadership, how do you bring that consciousness into your team? Do you have any practices that you and your team do, or?
That's a good question. I've worked with like lots of different teams in the past, and there's always a big learning curve and a lot of learning experience. But I have a really amazing team that I work with right now, with lots of really amazing people, and we do some practices of just kind of like, you know, I think it takes a lot of, I've learned it takes a lot of checking in with people, like making sure you know what their needs are, what their energy levels are. It's also really about making sure that you're conscious of every individual's ability. You know, I think that the best type of leadership is one that someone that has the ability to recognize like the gifts in other people and really like put the spotlight on the different people for their different gifts and raise them up to the point where people, you know, no matter what, that everyone does feel like they're an equal part of the system that we're doing, and make sure everyone feels appreciated. You know, it's a lot to learn, it's a lot to take on, but it's been something that I've, you know, we're always refining, and we're always open to getting better at that. You know, but I think like actually I just gave the guys like I had half of the team leave a few days ago to drive out to LIB so they could set up the dome, because we leave tomorrow like morning to go out there. And for the team to really work, I realized that, you know, none of us are really in this for the money of it, because it's, you know, this is it's almost more of a lifestyle than like a career choice to work in the festival kind of circuit. And so I try to remind everybody like really what's the deeper intention and what we're doing, because I think the thing, even though they take a lot of energy and they can really burn me out sometimes too, it's really, at the end of the day, how many people you get to see come through the gallery and have this moment that they share. Because what I think what the galleries are aiming to do, what I think is what people are responding to about this, what's powerful about it, it's not necessarily like the imagery or the dragons or the heads or the psychedelicness. It's a pattern interrupter. You know, like we are arguably like probably the most socially conditioned, brainwashed culture in our recorded history of mankind. And it's the reason we get into that is we just fall into the patterns. Like we're conditioned to things are supposed to be like that. He was conditioned to eating strawberries and cutting off the top. We have all these things, then we just take them for granted because we've done them so long. And when you interrupt a pattern, and that's what a lot of these medicines do at the same time, it interrupts your pattern enough. And within that break, there's space. There's all this space. You know, I get excited not about what people think about this animation or this art, but I'm excited that like I'm giving them their mind an opportunity to have just a bit more space in it. You know, if they didn't know this was possible, then they can look out and they might know something else or some other higher intention of their life is possible from that. You know, I think it's about, you know, slowly just, you know, we're all kind of kicking the can of consciousness like down the road bit by bit, you know. So things like this, I think, give that can just the nudge, a bit more momentum, and then it's up to everyone else or how they're gonna do with that.
I love that. I love how it sounds like your intention is less about sharing your particular frame of consciousness, but more about, like you said, creating that space for someone else to expand their own consciousness in their own way.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the images too. My goal for many of them, it's really about giving people permission to be awesome. You know, nice. If they see something like, oh, it's so great, it's just like, cool, I'm just a dude. I got hands and I've got problems like you and all these things. And I just, if I did this, it's like, you know, everyone has, you know, I think humans do have an unlimited amount of potential inside of them. It's just about kind of giving people access to that and then encouraging and supporting them towards that direction.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I want to ask you something else about the filming, because we were filming in the planetarium, and you said that the wobbly shot that you posted got 600,000 hits. Do you currently have a plan for how you could use video of these kinds of experiences to help spread this?
It's interesting. I kind of go a little back and forth on that, because the video that we showed on that clip was not part of this. It was like another test that they did. And I think for the time being, I was asking people to try to refrain from doing like the sharing of videos. I mean, ultimately we want to put together like a nice reel and something when it gets a little bigger. But what I really loved about seeing it for the first time is that it was a total surprise. Because if you condition someone that there may be a pattern interrupter ahead, it's like they psych themselves out for it, and it's like, oh, this is cooler than I saw. Or I thought it was bigger on my phone. You know, it's like, I don't think we need to do that. You know, I think that there's going to be enough momentum built from this, and you know, we've got a lot of positive reactions from people, and the reactions that hopefully that'll be enough social proof to do more shows like this in the future and reach out to more artists and and make a difference. And I think one thing too that I think what the planetarium offers us that is not as available through the events and the festivals and kind of Red Rock shows, that lots of elementary schools have really close relationships with museums and planetariums, and I think where I think we get the most leverage out of this work that we do is showing it to an audience of 11-year-olds. You know, I mean, imagine that. Imagine if that. I want to see the faces if that whole room was filled with like a 6th grade class. Could you imagine if you got the permission that this is possible when you were back in 6th grade instead of when you're in your mid-20s and kind of on a path already?
Yeah, I mean, at a certain point, I thought about. I mean, I know you said it's more than just a psychedelic experience, but I feel like there was something happening in my pineal gland inspired by that show that was making me trip without having to take anything. And in that regard, like in a healthy, safe, balanced way, that's allowing those doorways to be opened without you know, the side effects.
Well, ultimately, Lotus, you know, your mind is the most potent psychedelic drug factory on the planet. All of it. This is a cornucopia of you seen how complicated the adrenaline molecule is? It blows the DMT molecule out of the water. It's unbelievable. So, yeah, it's all there. That's all there. The psychedelics give us, you know, kind of fast tracks there in a lot of ways. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, the real magic happens in here, always. Yeah. So whatever we can do to just sometimes pivot, make those little shifts.
Yeah. Shake it up.
Shake it up.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome, and thank you, Tom, for being part of the inspiration.
Yeah.
Making this all come together.
How can we support you moving forward?
Gosh, yeah, I don't know. Just, you know, keep doing what you're doing. Yeah. You show these videos, get people, you know, let people know. Probably reaching out, you know. I really do think that once we can, you know, contact, like, the idea of getting this in front of like more kids and families, you know, my mom was here. It seemed like everybody, you know, you didn't have to like electronic music to like it. You know, it kind of appealed on many levels. And
building bridges, cross-pollinating communities. Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Pleasure.